Welcome to Early Days, the podcast where the seeds of innovation and entrepreneurship take root. It's proudly presented by Prowse Chowne. Dive deep into the journey of trailblazers who are shaping the future. And what I'm going to say right now to you is organic, wood-roasted, whiskey barrel-aged coffee. And you'd say, yes, give me a cup. Shawn Kaminski of Lui Chi's, welcome to the show.
Nice to meet you. How are you?
Nice to meet you. You were a West End boy growing up here. What did you do out of school?
Out of school, I went straight into the service industry. Okay. I worked at the very first West Edmonton Mall, Fantasyland, when I was young. So I worked in that mall, sold some shoes, did Fantasyland, did the water park, and all those types of things. And then after I did that, I kind of got into coffee.
So what, it's funny when I went to your website before the podcast and I just wanted to get a feel for you and what Lui Chi's was all about. And that heading on the website is what caught my attention. Organic wood roasted whiskey barrel aged coffee. And you love coffee so much. Did you start making it or testing yourself? How did you get into it?
No, it actually started, I took my first job at Starbucks. So I was a barista at the Starbucks store, one of the first Starbucks in Edmonton, and I enjoyed it a lot. And I just worked my way up through Starbucks from barista to shift manager, to store manager, to regional manager. And I did many years at Starbucks, almost 15 years at Starbucks.
Oh, that's huge. And they had a great program themselves, did they not?
They did. I mean, everybody knows Starbucks. It's a world-recognized brand. They were growing exponentially fast. So it was quite a learning experience for me. So there was lots of opportunity to learn coffee, but not just coffee, how stores are built, how customer relationships are built.
Yeah. And now for our listeners and viewers, Lui Chi started, you were just that, if you remember on Jasper Avenue, there was a little espresso truck. That's how you began.
Yes, that's exactly how after Starbucks, I thought, I don't want to do the big company. I took a year and I thought, what do I want to do? What do I enjoy doing? And I said, I'm going to open up a little mobile truck. And I didn't know what I was going to do, didn't know how I was going to do it. So I know it's going to sound a little bit cliche, but I took out a napkin, literally at another coffee shop, and I sat there drinking coffee, writing on a napkin, what should my truck look like? What should it be? I wanted to connect with customers. I didn't want to be in a brick and mortar. I wanted to see face to face like we are today. And that's really what coffee's all about. I even get goosebumps when I think about that. So I wanted a little truck. And I wanted something small because I was scared to death. I think that's my biggest learning as an entrepreneur is if you're scared, you're never going to do it. So you just have to get over that fear and do it. So I thought the easiest way was a small little mobile truck. And if it didn't work out, I could always move on, do something else, or get back into coffee a different way.
Or live in the truck.
Or live in the truck. That's right. I have lots of coffee, so we're good. Yeah. So I started with the small truck on purpose because I didn't want to take too big of a risk because there is a big fear factor when you've never done something like this before. I knew I could make coffee. I knew I loved coffee. I liked connecting with customers. I talked with all the customers, and I enjoy that aspect of it. But running a business, even though it's just a truck, there's still all the check marks you have to check off for a business. Licenses, making sure the health board is on board with you, making sure the truck's roadworthy, all those things that are involved in running a business. Then the accounting part of it, doing the books. The payroll was easy because it was just me. And the first few days I didn't make much money, so payroll was really easy. So I started off really, really small with the truck on purpose.
So what else was on that napkin as you're building it all out? Well, number one, I had to ask you, okay, how did you come up with Lui Chi's, the name? Because that's obviously part of your business plan.
That was on the napkin.
It was on, okay.
I went over a few different names all over, and it was going to be kind of a walking Joe's because people are walking downtown and they're picking up a cup of Joe. And it sounded like it was going to go that way, and I played with it for a while. But then I started thinking about the name has to portray what I want the coffee shop to be and what we're going to be doing and some of our pillars of what I wanted to make sure happened. I wanted to make sure that there was some community connection with the truck. So it wasn't just about the coffee, it was also about what was the truck doing for the community, how are we helping. So I really early on wanted to make sure we were involved with dog rescues and helping different dog rescues, either financially or going and physically bringing the truck out and doing events with them to help do fundraising. So as I started thinking about the truck and the dog rescues, and I'd already been doing dog rescue at home, doing fostering and everything. So we thought, well, why don't we name it after one of our first foster fails? So one of our first fosters we had, his name was Lui Chi, a little Chihuahua mix. And we found we were doing mostly Chihuahua small breed rescues. So we hyphened it and called it Lui Chi's. So for Chihuahuas. And now 10% of all my sales go to our rescues, and we help out along that line. So it's small dog rescues, primarily Chihuahuas. And we make sure that we're always involved either with the truck going out and helping with the rescues, doing events, or a portion of sales from different events go to that all the time. So Lui Chi's has a backstory to it, just like the coffee does with the wood roasted. I wanted to make sure everything was connected to something. It wasn't a dead end. You know, if I say I have coffee, you're going to look at me and go, yeah, everybody has coffee.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Right?
So how did you land on the whiskey barrel aged coffee?
Well, again, I wanted a coffee that is one of the better quality coffees, and I wanted to differentiate myself from everybody else. And there's most coffee roasting is done a standard way. It's not really done with wood roast. It's harder, it's more meticulous to do. There's a lot more things you have to watch when you're roasting with wood. And it brings out a different flavor profile to the coffee. It's more hand-done, hands-on type of a process. And again, with everything that we do at Lui Chi's, everything's hand-done, redone, remade, however we can. So the wood roasted was important to me, and the whiskey barrel age is just a process we use to age the beans a little bit, to give them a little bit of old world flavor and overtone before we roast them.
So, okay, we've got the truck, we got the beans, we got the name. Now it's location.
Yes.
How did you land on Jasper Avenue?
When you first start with a mobile truck, the city asks you where you'd like to be. And there was a bunch of locations. I was looking around, and I thought, no, Jasper Ave seems central for me. I wanted to make sure where there's lots of walking traffic. And I didn't want to be too close to coffee shops, but I still wanted to be close enough that I was a walking distance from all the other coffee shops, because I'm a firm believer in community. The more coffee shops you have in an area, the more people go to that area for coffee. Mm-hmm. So I didn't want to be far away from everybody. I always tell the story, have you ever gone to a food truck event with one food truck?
Yeah,
or have you gone to one with 500 food trucks? Where are you going to have more fun? Where are you going to find more variety? So I made sure that I was kind of situated in and amongst a few other coffee shops around Jasper Avenue. And I ended up on Jasper Avenue, approximately 107th Street. And I set up on that side of the street and said, let's go.
So was this 2018?
It would have been 2018.
2018. Yeah. So you've got your truck set up. Do you remember your first sale?
I do, actually. It was an older gentleman, Mike, and he was in the building right beside where I set up. And he comes on down, and he stood and looked for about 20 minutes. So I'm like, okay, this is going well. I said hi to him, and he still looked, because I think he was shocked with the truck. My concept is really small. It's old world steampunk and everything. I don't think he was quite sure what it was all about, because you don't see that in Edmonton. So I said, hi. He said, come on over. And I just gave him a sample of coffee. I said, give this a try. See what you think. I just set up. I want you to try my coffee. So my first customer, I didn't even sell anything to. But he came back the next day with all the people from the building, and that's how it all started. Hey, Mike, how you doing today? Day number 2, then day number 3. And then we meet Jennifer, and then we meet everybody else. They come down. And my truck is opened up in such a way that it's not like a typical food truck with the window that you look out to people and you're kind of hidden.
Yeah.
I'm right out on the street. So when I'm making coffee with the old world pull machines, you're standing right beside me. So you get to see what we're doing. And a lot of times with the truck downtown, I have the customers pull their own shot. So they're involved in making their own coffee. So my first customer was Mike just upstairs. It was great.
So it was ultimately word of mouth, and that brought the success of your business.
Yep. I didn't put any money into marketing in the sense of advertising. What I did was put it all into the truck. And I wanted to make sure that if you drove by Jasper Avenue, you walk by, you're going to go, what the heck is that? And it worked extremely well. I still use that truck today. And I bought a second truck that I drive around to do deliveries with the logo on it. And every day there's just hundreds of click, click, where'd you get that truck? Oh, that's so cute. So for me, it was about having not a piece of paper or a poster or a sign. I wanted something that physically that people saw that gave them a kind of a visceral response. And if it wasn't coffee at first, that didn't matter. It was, that's a really cute little truck. Or what's with the dogs all over? What's with the steampunk? Because coffee is important, but conversation is more important. You go for coffee, not for coffee all the time. You go because you're meeting a friend. You're meeting somebody and you're connecting. So for me, I wanted to have a lot of connection points first, and then to hook you in, then try the coffee. And if you like it, you'll come back because we've connected already. And a lot of times we've been some places where maybe the food is, there's a different grade of food. You got a little bit of entry level food, you got the really high end food. And it didn't really matter your experience whether it was the best food or the entry level food, it was who you were with.
You're absolutely right.
If you're one of your best friends having a dinner, it doesn't really matter what the dinner is so much. So for me, it was really about connecting first and then the coffee. And then I can teach you coffee because the Edmonton market still isn't really big when it comes to the world of coffee and knowledge. Like a Seattle of the world. Everybody's heard of Seattle, and it's the coffee capital of the world in a lot of ways. So Edmonton's was a little bit more behind. So I wanted to make sure that we could talk about why this coffee is the way it is, why it is we make it. And I can't do that on that first cup. So I just give you a cup and don't send it and you walk away. We're never going to talk again. I want you to be able to know me first. Hey, by the way, you're helping out with the dog rescue. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. And then we will learn a little bit of coffee, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, now you make a decision. You have the truck, but now you're going, it's time to move into bricks and mortar.
Oh, geez. The fear was up to here. Again, being an independent, trying to do it all by myself the first time. A truck is one thing, like I said, it's small. In your mind, it's easy. Although it's not, it's still all the same facets of the business. The brick and mortar took a little bit of a push. And I went home, and the way it happened was a customer walking down the street came to the truck. But then he came 3 or 4 times. And then he started asking a lot of questions. And then I started saying, these are a lot of questions just for coffee, not just about the dogs anymore, about what we're doing, and why is it so cold today and you're out here. There were questions around, what do you want to do? Where do you see this going? And it turns out that customer was one of the commercial real estate connects for the Phipps McKinnon building. And they were just in the process of redeveloping their main floor. And they wanted a different concept. They didn't want the usual brand. They wanted something community connected to. And they wanted something that was unique. So they approached me about going into the building. And I said no at first because I was scared of the brick and mortar. But then I went home and I sat down. I said to myself, just like the truck, I'm scared. You're never going to do this if you don't do it. So I went back a couple days later and said, let's just do this. And it just kind of grew from there because you have to figure it out. And if there's one thing I can say to anybody doing this and wanting to do anything when it comes to starting out, just start. You'll figure out the rest. Because now that I look back on it, I wish I started earlier. But there's that huge fear factor that slows a lot of people down. There's no safety net if you do it on your own. There's no insurance, there's no benefits, there's a bigger fear factor. But you have to trust your heart, you got to trust yourself and trust that you'll make it work. And that's why I said yes to the Phipps McKinnon building. That was my first brick and mortar, and we figured it out from there.
So when somebody like you expands, because it seems to me that Shawn Kaminski is Lui Chi's, because you're the ones that's connecting. You're the one that's talking about the dog connection. So how do you expand a business when you're really the star?
Yeah. My first year, somebody said that to me, and that's great that we have these connections, because that made me stop and think. Because I was, I'm just going to open everywhere now. I'm just going to do every location downtown that I can do. But then I stopped in my tracks and I said, am I ready? And if I'm the star, I don't want to be the star. I want to help other people be the stars. So I took 3 more years to make sure we had the proper staff and partners in place that want to be the stars. So I brought a few people on that I would think that would work, that love not just coffee, but connecting, because we can learn coffee. So my very first full-time employer was one of my better customers.
Oh, interesting.
So
okay.
Because we talked coffee all the time, because we talked about this is a fun atmosphere, you get to connect, you get to meet everybody downtown, I knew that was the right person to be the next star. So once I had that person in place, then we've hired on 2 or 3 more part-timers, very similar, like-minded people. You have to be a star. You have to be somebody that wants to connect, talk about the coffee, talk about the dogs, talk about, what we're excited about. And then we can start moving on, because I did have opportunity to open up right after FIPS. Lots, but I had to really hold back and realize that I can't do it by myself. It's just not going to, otherwise I'm going to have one location, and that's the way it's going to be. So there's been ups and downs around that, making sure the right people are always the right people, making sure that I'm present at all times, between different locations, but in spirit. You don't have to always be there physically, and let them run the show. It's not my coffee shop at the end of the day, it's yours. You're the one buying the coffee. You're coming in every day. How many times have you heard somebody walk out of the store and they say to a friend, that's my coffee shop, by the way, and they're all proud because they took you to go see it for the first time? So it's really not my coffee shop. It's your coffee shop. So having staff like that has helped us start to grow into other parts of downtown. So now we have our second location as a pop-up style location in the Stantec Tower.
Oh, okay, excellent. Yeah. Okay, so now what's happened to the food truck?
The
food truck or the food coffee machine?
It's food. We do food also. So we do all homemade pastries and everything also. So
yum.
The truck. What I wanted to do, because downtown area is going through a lot of different growth. A lot of the towers are renovating now. They're changing. They're deciding what they want to do. And Phipps McKinnon, where Lui Chi's first store is, kind of changed the thought process of a lot of buildings around downtown. It was one of the first buildings that brought amenities to the main floor and welcomed people in, instead of, no, this is just for the Phipps people and this is just for them. And so that lobby got a lot of attention from real estate and owners around downtown. So there was a big push to start changing all the lobbies a little bit different. So, bring amenities to the main floor, make it welcoming for everybody. So Stantec wanted to do that also. And Stantec is still in a growing phase also too. And I thought, before I just go brick and mortar right away, I want to do my truck as the entry-level proof of concept, if that makes sense. So rather than investing a lot of money right away and just going in and hoping, Lui Chi's was a good brand, people knew it downtown, but you never know for sure. I thought the strategic way was to put the truck in there for the year, or however long it ends up being, as proof of concept, and then we can build out. So one of my strategic plans is the truck always goes in first, and then we do a brick and mortar. So although the brand is there, you have to make sure that the traffic flow is still appropriate for you being there. A good example is years ago with my previous company, Starbucks, we put locations in these buildings, the law building in University of Alberta. And you would think that brand, everybody would go there, but nobody would go there because they thought it was for the law building. And I learned that really early on, that doesn't matter what brand you have, even if it's as big as Starbucks, if it's not the right location, it's still not going to work. So the customers have to know you're willing and open for them. And to backtrack to Phipps, I didn't go into Phipps right away. I put the truck, I said, I will come and do a brick and mortar, but I want the truck there the summer before. So we went outside the building for the whole summer during construction. So I was able to talk to 300 to 500 customers and say, I'm gonna be in there. So when my doors opened, all those customers just walked in. I didn't have to worry about them going, oh, is that just for the Phipps building? Because that's the way our buildings are designed right now. So the change now is to open up all the lobbies for people to be invited in. Sit down, listen to some music, have a coffee, have an amenity, a different restaurant, a cafe, something. So I like the way downtown's progressing into more of a social downtown, not a working downtown. So right now the truck is in Stantec, and we're close to deciding how that's going to look going forward. I can't say yet, wink, wink. And then we'll move the truck on to the next phase.
Well, if it makes you feel, as you and I are talking, I'm going, my girlfriend Michelle works at Stantec, and she raves about you and your coffee. So as soon as I'm going, this is the guy, this is the coffee guy she raves about, and the coffee. So that is, what a great way to build a business. Yeah, what do you think is the most valuable lesson that you have learned over this journey?
Oh, there's been so many. I didn't go to school, take a business degree, and pre-plan how I was going to do this. I really was learning as I went, working in the service interest in the industry, selling shoes. I did it all. I was kind of that, let's just try and see what happens. So the biggest learning for me was how to overcome fear, and what does that look like. So anybody, even when they come and work at Lui Chi's, what's your fear? It's coffee. If that's your fear, we'll figure that out for you. I know you love it. We'll teach you. If it's the old pull machines that look a little bit strange to you, we'll teach you all of that. But overcoming fear is not something that's easy to do. And I still don't think it is. There's many days I have fear. And you think about your everyday life, I think fear stops us from doing a lot of things. Skydiving.
But that's okay.
But that's okay.
I'll still leave that one.
So my biggest learning is probably, how do you overcome fear? So sitting down, having a good peer group of friends or family to talk to, and understand that nothing is irreversible. So learning that you might have taken this path and maybe it won't work doesn't mean you're done. You just take the next one. But you're still moving forward. You're not moving back. You might move sideways a little bit, but you never move back. I've learned more in doing this than I did not doing it. So I think that's my biggest learning, is overcoming fear and how to adjust, how to course correct. Being small and having that control to do that, I think has helped the business too, because I opened up just pre-COVID.
Yes, so your timing was great. Yeah.
But I thought to myself, if I can get through COVID, it should be pretty easy. So I had to course correct many, many times. So it's a big learning on, don't be afraid to course correct. Don't be afraid to try new things. Although it's always wood roasted coffee, we are still branching off into hand done, local, daily roasted coffee also. So I had fear I'm going to lose my wood roast customer. But now I'm just diversifying into a different type of a roast and something a little bit different. Don't be afraid to try new things. I think that's a big, big learning.
And actually, one more question before we leave. For someone that would be listening to Early Days or watching, and they're in the corporate world, and they're just thinking, this isn't for me anymore, what would you say to them if they wanted to go out and maybe follow their dreams? Or
do it. Yeah, I don't even know how to, that's hard to expand on, because it's just do it. Don't be fearful. And if you're not sure, just ask. I've learned so much from the younger generation. because they have access to the world different than I had it. I didn't have and I'm dating myself. I didn't have the internet and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And there's so much access out there right now. Don't be so fearful. I think it's not that it was easier or harder back then, but it was definitely different. When we travel the world now, it's a lot easier with GPS than it was with a map.
You got that right.
Right?
Yes.
So don't be as fearful. Just go out and try it. You can always course correct. You can always change. You can always go back.
I love that.
But just do it.
Thank you for joining us today on Early Days. A special thanks to our presenting sponsor, Prowse Chowne. In the world of entrepreneurship, the right support is invaluable, and Prowse Chowne's array of services, from resolving legal disputes to ensuring your business is legally sound, means they stand ready to assist you at every step of your journey. Shawn Kaminski, Lui Chi, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Let's go have some coffee.
Let's go have some coffee.
This series is proudly produced by the team at Road 55. Road 55 creates content that connects. For more information, visit our website at road55.ca.